Good morning, everyone. Happy hump day to you. You're almost there. And for you guys who are getting off on Friday, this is your Friday. No, this is your Thursday. But nonetheless, we're going to break down this topic because I think it's important that we understand how important home ownership really is. Home ownership is the key to long-term wealth. And we're going to have this discussion. I'm going to break it down how you guys, by owning your first home, by owning your second home, or even the home that you're currently in, how you already have generated a substantial amount of wealth, unless you've done some really financial bad mistakes. But nonetheless, if you haven't done too much damage, there's all this wealth that's built up in your home. So very important right off the bat, we need to go to with the national inflation rate. Now we understand that it only dropped 0.2%. Gas is still up. I know gas here in Texas, in the area that I live in, gas is up to around $4.26, and that is for regular gas. Now for some of you guys with premium vehicles like myself, you're paying upwards of $4.50, $4.60 per gallon. And I know in California, I don't even want to go there. The gas prices are astronomical, okay, at best. But the one thing that is preventing people in the current market is to buy a home. And this is probably one of the worst times since the Great Depression to buy a home. The Great Depression occurred, I think, around in 1929. Of course, we had the recession back in 2009, 2008 time frame. So again, here's another third time in American history that we all can recall that is probably one of the worst times that we can actually buy a home. But home ownership is still one of the best ways to building wealth, if not generational wealth. And I'm going to show you how. I'm going to show you why. Now, unfortunately, in order to get the lowest rates, you're going to have to still have pretty decent credit. And as we look at these numbers here, family, we're going to look at, I'm just doing a national average of around $400,000 with a down payment of 20%, because with the 20% down payment, you understand that you will avoid PMI insurance, private mortgage insurance. This is the amount that you can pay to your lender because you don't have enough asset, you don't have enough money put down for them to lower the risk on your loan in order to get into lower interest rates. Now, your credit score will depict what interest rate range you will get inside. So take, for instance, like myself, I have around a 780 credit score. During the time that, everyone was competing for your money, for your credit, my interest rate on my home is around 2.25%. Now, I've been calling around different lenders, getting information. The lowest interest rate with a 780 credit score that I could possibly get without paying down points is around 5.3%. This is an average, okay? I talked to Rocket Mortgage, I talked to Navy Federal, I talked to a couple of other lenders that I can't recall at the current time. But we're talking about 5.3%. We're talking about upwards to 6% with a 780 credit score, because once you get past 720, that is started to looking like very good to excellent credit. So that's where the market is. So it really doesn't matter your credit score once you get past 720, because you're still going to get around 5%, and we're talking about a 30-year fix. Now, and of course, if you do a 15-year fix, you get down to around 5%, 5.1, 5.2. But of course, the longer the years, the higher the risk with the bank, because it's going to take you a longer time to pay off that amount of debt, okay? So of course, if you have a 15-year mortgage, they say, okay, it's going to take them 15 versus 30 years. We get our money a lot sooner. So it's a bonus that they decrease the amount, all right? So these are some of the things that we need to understand about the current market. Am I telling you not to buy a home? Absolutely not, because home ownership is one of the key ways in building wealth in America, if not the way of building wealth for the common day person. Good morning, Jermaine Anderson, and good morning, Jerome Jones. Nice to see you brothers here this morning. Make sure you share this on your social media, guys, so we can bring people inside of this tutorial, this information, for they can get this, because this is very important. I know a lot of you guys may be living in condos, apartments, even townhomes. All of these are great ways, except for the rental part. Now, if you're leasing or renting, family, if you can scrounge away, if you can bust your butt, if you can put funds together in order to own a condo, in order to own a townhome. But the key to wealth in America, believe it or not, is in single family homes. Now, I can't do this video without showing you some of the disparities of the different people that live in America, okay? It states here that all race groups refer to people who indicated only one racial identity among the 6 major categories: white, black, American Indian, Alaskan Native, Asian, Native Hawaiian, and other Pacific Islanders. Now, here's key, because you have to keep this all the way 100. Home ownership among white householders was 71% higher than the national rate of 66%. Does that make any sense? The reason why I say that is because white people are still the majority. Even though they're declining, white people are still the majority. Around anywhere between 68 to 71% of Americans are white. And then if you include Hispanics, that numbers go up to around 76 to 78% when you include white Hispanics. Secondly, Hispanics has the largest population, anywhere from 16 to 18%. Then thirdly, you have Black Americans, around anywhere from 13 to 15%. People still believe we're stuck at 13.4%, but that has been debunked. So right now we're teetering anywhere from between 13 to 15%. So I'm gonna hit the nail on the hole. We're gonna say that we're 14% of the population, just to kill all arguments there. But how are you 70% of the population and you are part of the national average, but you're beating the national average of 66%, right? That's because when they tally up Asians, some Asians identify as white, some Hispanics identify as white. So right there, you already have people who have assimilated into white culture, into the white ideology that they're white. So their numbers seem to be a bit higher. Now, when we compare that to black people, they said householders who were black were only 46% of house owners in America. And then majority of those black people who own homes live in South Carolina, Mississippi, because this was the recorded highest black home ownership rate back in 2000. I'm gonna tell you why it's still prevalent today. We know that Georgia has high black ownership, as well as Texas, but we know that California has been declining astronomically, because right now the black population of California in general is only 6%. But as we look at some of these other home ownership rates, and I just want to bring you down to the bottom here, this was last revised October 8th, 2021. So that tells me right there that a lot of these figures have not changed in 20 years, ladies and gentlemen. They took these numbers from 2000, they revised this form back in 2021, and the numbers typically did not change. And as we look at this, this is a census.gov. This is the federal government website, because we understand everything is being reported by your state. You're not buying a home and avoiding taxes or avoiding the deed and avoiding the title without reporting this to the state. The state then reports it to the federal government. That's how we get these numbers, ladies and gentlemen. So we know this, that a lot of people who live in the North, it doesn't matter what North you live in, because I know a lot of black people not living in North Dakota, okay? But those who live in Washington and Oregon, you live in New England, you live in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, DC, those areas where I'm from, most of us live in apartments majority of our lives, unless you live in a black neighborhood. And yes, there's black neighborhoods, especially in Washington, DC. There are some boroughs in New York that are majority black. But for the most part, a lot of us still are living in apartments. And if you do live in a home in the North, it's probably financially advantageous for you to move a little south. That way you can exercise your home ownership being the start of your generational wealth. Why is that important? According to a report, the average home in a primarily black neighborhood is worth $46,000 less than the comparable home in a primarily white neighborhood. It also states that the research was conducted using value estimate for more than 7 million homes that were listed and sold from 2013 through February of 2021 nationwide. Why is this important? Redfin says today's black home ownership are missing out on $46,000 worth of wealth due to racist housing policies that were outlawed in the 1960s and continuing biases among home buyers and housing professionals and part of the home buying process, like appraisals and mortgage lending. Now, when my wife was looking for a home, she actually asked me, she said, honey, do you want me to look for a house in a black neighborhood, a white neighborhood, or just mixed? I said, well, babe, you can look for a house, anywhere, but you know what? Make it mixed. Because what I realized, if I moved into an all black neighborhood and I was to sell my home, I would not get the amount of money out of the home because the equity would not have risen if it was a mixed or white neighborhood. Now, I know some people are going to kind of coonish, but nonetheless, I'm talking financials. This is a financial decision for me. Until a lot of things in a black community rises. Now, we're not going to end racism. Okay, we're not going to end racism. I think to the day I die, your children die, and their children pass away, we're going to have racism on some sort of level. But things can kind of get leveled. And what I mean by level is that when blacks start to take control of their own businesses and their own infrastructure and their own economics, then we can start to compare the equity inside of our neighborhoods. Because right now, if I buy a home in an all black neighborhood, let's say for instance Houston, because Houston has a lot of, believe it or not, a lot of prestigious all black neighborhoods. Some of these homes are $1 million homes, but these people bought these homes for around $400,000. If these homes was in a white neighborhood, they would have paid about $1 million. Now, some of you are like, oh, that's great. Not necessarily, because the amount of wealth that was built up over the course of time would have changed. Because when we look at the thumbnail that you see there, family, we see that after a 5-year wealth gain, the equity in a house would have gained around $82,000 when you're rounding up. Around a 10-year wealth gain, we're looking around $145,000. Now, due to market depreciation, inflation, that can actually drop around the 15-year mark. But then on the 30-year mark, there's a possibility that you have around $280,000 of equity in your home. Why is this important? Because I can tell you this. Currently, I can pull out anywhere between $150,000 to $180,000 in equity in my home in just 2 years of home ownership. I want you to think about that. I bought this home for $390,000. It's roughly around 3,800 square feet. And 2 years later, I can take out a whopping $180,000 in equity. What can I do with $180,000 in equity? I can do what any other homeowner can do. I can do an attached patio that increases the home value more so than the patio was built. I can also buy a rental property. I can upgrade my kitchens and bathrooms. I can make this house $1 million home at only around 3,800 square feet in the current neighborhood that I live in. Now, all of these very intricate details of where you live, how you live, the neighborhood, the communities, the amenities within that community, all makes a difference. Like in my community, we have our own fire department. In my community, they're building a commercial district where people are going to basically stay in the community, right? They're going to build one of those F45 gyms. We already have a hair salon. They're building all of these things so people stay right here in the community. We have ponds and lakes and people go fishing. People have frisbee golf. We're riding our scooters all around the neighborhood. They're trying to make this one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in Texas. And this is the things that you have to essentially see why they are developing the neighborhood. What are the plans? What are the future developments? What are the things that you're going to do to increase these things? And I'll tell anybody, I'm pro-Black. I love Black people. I love to be around Black people. I like to talk to Black people. But when it comes to finances, I'm not saying you have to sell your soul, but you have to do the best possible decision for you and your family. And home ownership is the one way that no one can ever make an excuse not to build generational wealth. Now, if you're taking out 2 and 3 refinances and cashing out, that can be some worrisome, that can be troublesome over the course of time, because now you are debting, now you are killing the amount of equity in your home. So when you take equity out of your home, you want to do things to increase the value of the home, and then with the leftovers or even the meat and potatoes of that loan, guess what you can go out and do? You can buy another property. You can buy a duplex, a triplex, or a quadplex, and you can absolutely be a homeowner as well as a real estate investor. And of course, you can take some of that money to flip properties. You can take some of that money to go on vacations, which really don't give you no yield on your return. Again, if I'm going to use the equity in my home, the one main thing that I'm focused on is ROI. Because my wife was like, hey, babe, I know you want to take out this equity loan. You don't want to use our own money? Absolutely not. I say, this is how Americans make money, babe. You use debt as well. You use debt as a come up. You use debt as income. And so what I'm getting at, I'm going to use somebody else's money. I'm going to build a patio, which is going to cost me around $45,000 to $50,000. But in a couple of years, that patio is going to make the house worth an extra $80,000. Because this patio is going to be anywhere from 500 to 600 square feet. It's going to be screened in with electrical slides. So either you can have those electrical screens that go up or down, but this is an additional living space. That's just like the space that I'm currently in. This is the Ross pit, I call it. This is the Ross pit. This is also my man cave in my office. You guys see it every time I'm on video. This room right here, when I first bought the home, was extra storage space. This is on the second level of the home. It's 250 square feet. When I came inside of this room, there was a subfloor and studs around the wall. It had no drywall. It had no floor. I invested inside of this room, and this increased the square footage of the house because now this is a living space. As long as it has a closet and a window, it's an addition living space. But when we look at these numbers, ladies and gentlemen, I do not want you to forget how home ownership is wealth. But there are some disparities in the Black community. And when I mean community, I mean majority of the neighborhoods that Black people live. And this is by design. I don't want Black people to say, oh, you guys don't take care of your neighborhoods, and that's why it ain't working out for you, and that's why your property value's down. No. This is not why our houses is not worth the same homes in a white community, the same home in an Asian community. It's because racist housing policies that were outlined in the 1960s are still operating in some form or fashion today. They said that in continual biases among home buyers and housing professionals and process the home buying process like appraisals and mortgage lending. Now, if you notice, there was this lady who did a report. It was a Black lady. She was married to a white husband, and she had a home appraiser come inside the home. And the home appraiser somehow undervalued the home by $120,000 because they had mixed pictures of. They had a Black woman and a white man, and then they took out the pictures and they put up these very staging pictures, like no picture of family members at all, right? When another appraiser came in, they valued a home at an extra $150,000 previous from the other appraiser. Now, some people will say, well, these are different appraisers, so they appraise differently. No. There's a certain standard. If an appraiser could be anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 off, not $120,000 off, ladies and gentlemen. So there's still a lot of racist bias when they know that you are a Black homeowner and they lived in a white neighborhood. Yeah. There's a lot of disparity against Black people in general. Because I know if we were to ever to sell this home, let me tell you, family, our art is 99% black. I think I did a video when I first moved inside the home, and I was showing you guys pictures. I think I'm gonna do a walkthrough of my home just for the pictures, so you guys can see what I mean by that. All of my pictures, 99% of them are essentially black and African. But I have one picture in my bathroom. I forgot. It's this Italian ladies with these thick thighs that that I just like the picture, and my wife let me have it. So nonetheless, I'm keeping it. But I want to show you these disparities because people who are not familiar with racist policies, or they are familiar, try to dupe people. They try to manipulate and trick you to tell you it's because black people are inherently violent. Black people are inherently to use drugs. That we're all thugs and we live in shithole neighborhoods because we made it that way. No. I can take you to neighborhoods in Texas where majority of the neighborhoods are black. There are some black neighborhoods in Garland that are really substantial neighborhoods. The houses are, they keep their houses groomed. They look very beautiful homes. But people would tell you, oh, yeah, living in Collin County, which is the richest county in Texas, living in Collin County, Garland is like the ghetto of Collin County. I've heard that before. And I'm like, and this is when I first moved here. And I was like, and then I found out that the majority of the people that live in Garland, Texas are black. So the biases, the discrimination, the racism is still there. Now, granted, I can't take away from the other side of the argument. There are some black neighborhoods that we have done damage to, okay? So that's another disparity within our own communities that we have created for ourselves. So I will not forego the truth, but we have to look at the root of the problem and essentially how it started. One more thing here that you must understand, family. The reason why, and this is an additional reason, that homes are not as expensive. One of the reasons why homes don't build as much equity, it's because of the amount of money in house that we can afford. The homes that we currently have in some of our neighborhoods, we don't have the money, we don't have the education, we don't have the know-how to boost the equity inside the home. What am I referring to? Unfortunately, black people as a whole, we make around $50,000 on average. So you can't afford the same homes as your white and Asian counterparts. So you can't build the same amount of wealth. That means you can't take out the same amount of equity. That means you can't do the same things they do with their homes and their equity as you can do with your home. So if I can take out, for instance, 180, you probably can take out around 40. And you can do a lot more with 180,000 than you ever could with 40,000. Take, for instance, let's say you buy a home today around $200,000. The home's value appreciate during the next several years, and when it comes time to sell, you're able to sell it for $350,000. That means that you built up $150,000 worth of equity. That also means you can use the money from the sale to buy a higher value home. You can either purchase a rental property or be more aggressive in your investments. That's right. I've known some people to take out, or they cash out refi, or they do a home equity loan, or they do a HELOC, and they take that money out and they make investments. They make investments in the stock market. They're making investments buying bonds and U.S. treasuries, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because we understand that taking out a mortgage, holding on to a property, and then cashing out tax-free at a low interest rate. Now, the key here, as long as that property is your primary residence, it's one of the best ways to build wealth. Again, you can borrow against the equity in a home, and once you have substantial equity like I do, you can take out a home equity loan or a cash out refinance and use the proceeds to put down payment on investment property. Exactly what I was stating before. This is one of the key ways how white Americans have been making and building wealth in this country, and why home ownership is one of the most profitable ways that you could ever use in order to build wealth, if not generational. Hopefully that hits home for most of you guys. This is Financial Literacy 101. Learn money and be inspired. I see my brother Ricky Manor. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for supporting the content. Ricky Manor has a wonderful show of the Ricky Manor over there. Please support that brother as well. You guys have a great and wonderful day. I'm out.